Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Michael Sisco Show. We are giving the huge honor to Luke Kindrat to be graced by my presence here and on the illustrious. We got to bring all the rising Ortho Bro stars on the show. But welcome, Luke. Why don't you, while I set up the super chats, go ahead and introduce yourself. Give us the quick rundown on your YouTube channel and what's going on over there.
Sure thing. So my name's Luke, and I'm the host of Orthodoxy First, which is essentially an Orthodox Christian political show. So we look at politics from the perspective of the church, whether it's geopolitics, American politics, or the politics within the church itself. And we try to analyze that as best we can through an Orthodox lens. Yeah.
Yes, super awesome. He's like, but your real name is what? What's your real name, Luke?
Luke Kindrat?
Nah, it's a Nick Fuentedopoulos.
Yeah, of course. That's that has been my deemed nickname in various group chats now. So
that's funny. I think we have super chats set up. Let me just be sure. Yeah, it looks good. It's on mute, so nobody can hear it. That's good. Let's see. We got a few people. Let's see. We got some comments already. Viva Ottoman Empire.
Interesting.
Oh, somebody said
he does already.
He sounds like Nick Fuentes.
already. Yep.
John
that a lot.
Is that who
Another person just commented it? Ray the musician.
He sounds like Orthodox. You do sound like Fuentes. Do you think it's possibly how many years have you watched America First with Nick Fuentes?
I've actually only been watching it since March.
Really?
Yeah, so and everyone's always kind of surprised when I say that. But so a good friend of mine who is actually currently at the United States Military Academy at West Point, he's also, a paleo-conservative, and he introduced me to Nick Fuentes. He gave me The Death of the West to read, and he told me, he was like, read this book and watch America First with Nick Fuentes. And I was like, okay. And so there we had it.
It's a good, it is a good book. The Death of the West. So did you sound like Nick Fuentes before you watched him?
Yeah, and that's what my buddy told me. He was like, dude, you sound like this guy, Nick Fuentes. And he's like, I don't know if you know anything about him. And that's when we started getting on this topic, And I was like, okay. I like that.
Oigen says, can you see Kyle? Who are you talking about, Oigen? I don't know what you're talking about. Anna says, come on, he's much better than Nick Fuentes. He's Orthodox.
There you go, yeah.
I mean, I have met them both. I will say Luke is like twice Nick's size. I will say that.
Yeah.
So, but we're not here to talk about Fuentes today. We are here to talk about one of my favorite countries.
Absolutely.
My absolute, and I say this with all seriousness. Probably one of the greatest empires that the world has ever seen, the Ottoman Empire, which then became this country called Turkey, who rightfully has taken possession of a city called Istanbul. So, but let's in honoring this great civilization, Luke, why don't we talk about the origin and foremost of the origin of this country called Turkey, which we celebrate every November on Thanksgiving. And what's the origin? How did they come across this land called Istanbul?
Right. So Turkey actually has a really interesting origin. And insofar as it's not the modern Turks as we see them today are not the Turks maybe of 1,000 years ago. And they're not the Turks of 2,000 years ago. That region, Anatolia, was actually at that point occupied largely by Greeks. So, we had that, what's wrong with the tongue of Turkey? Yeah. But, nothing at all, I'll tell you that. But, so we had that region kind of conquered at that point by the Greeks, and that was especially advanced in the Hellenistic period with Alexander the Great. That whole region, was indeed Greek, and you had these major cities, such as Pergamum, Ephesus, Nicaea, Smyrna, all of those were Greek cities, right? And so you had the Turks come in first from East Asia, right? And they were somewhere below what is present-day Russia. And they joined up with Mongolian hordes in the Golden Horde, and later ended up moving into Asia Minor, closer and closer to Greece. And they started splitting up and moving into these different ethnic groups, right? And obviously, the largest one, Constantinople, is just a psyop. And by this point, right now, we're talking early Middle Ages. You had the Arabs, forming up and conquering large parts of Africa, and this is Byzantine-controlled Africa. And so, with this movement of Arabs, and these Arabs, of course, Muslim at this point, the Turks coming, both as the Seljuk Turks, which would form, and the Mongolian horde were both Muslim, and the Seljuk Turks met the Byzantines at the Battle of Manzikert in AD 1071. And that battle ended up deciding the fate of the Turks with the Byzantines, essentially. It didn't in that moment, but as came to be later on, unfortunately, we saw the Turks had this kind of free range, right? They could settle wherever they wanted. They became largely nomadic, and they could settle anywhere they wanted in that area of Asia Minor in the Byzantine Empire. And so you had multiple clashes, through the from the 11th to kind of the 15th century between the Byzantines and the Seljuk Turks. And by 1920, when Turkey ended up secularizing, it had several cultures surrounding it because Turkey itself had never really, solidified its own culture. Essentially, it had picked up the cultures and the habits of, groups like the Kurds, right, the Greeks, the Armenians, and these various groups would end up be the ones who defined Turkish culture later on, because the other groups, obviously, that were, Turkish in quotes, such as the Mongols or the Timurid Empire, these groups had dissipated largely by this point. They were no longer around by 1920. So what else, did Turkey have to go off of but those cultures which it had conquered, So it's very, very interesting to see that kind of development. And of course, in the present day, we know that the Greeks and the Turks have continued their rivalry. So, that's something that dates back all the way to that, even before that Battle of Manzikert, and, the Turks constantly pushing westward and into the Byzantine Empire. Even some people will argue the Huns were, predecessors to the Turks, and of course, where did the Huns stop, right? It was the gates of Constantinople. So, very interesting development there with the Turks and where they came from.
Is there any relation to them and I guess the Mongols that raided, took over Kiev?
Yes. So they now, and again, that would be they're not the Turks as we know them today, but they have that same type of origin because they both came out of that area of just below present day Russia, right? So it's not, they were not the Seljuk Turks, right? But they were one of those cultures that heavily influenced present day Turkish culture.
So what are they? Demons?
Turks today. They're just a combination of everything. Now, yeah, they're demons, right? They're demons who converted to Islam in the early Middle Ages and wanted nothing to do with Orthodox Christianity.
Interesting. So, they certainly haven't done anything like commit a few genocides now, have they?
Oh boy, we could really go on about this. It's funny. I have it's actually my sister. She had both a friend and a professor. I guess actually I'll talk about her professor first. Turks are here. They're more than heretics. They're just demonic. I mean, and Muslims, we know and we assert as Orthodox Christians that Muslims, do worship demons. But that's a whole other talking point for another day. But my sister's professor, she took a course on Ottoman.
Did you say your sister?
No, we're not doing this. My older sister. My older sister took a course. She's at William & Mary. She's a neuroscience major, but she took a course in Turkish history. which I don't really know how that would how that would work, but Turkish history, and essentially the professor herself, right, denied the Armenian genocide. And she said that it never happened. Yeah. Was it 6 million? Yeah. So surprisingly, and this is something that, is quite surprising about the Armenian genocide, is you can legally deny it and not face any penalties, in many countries. Whereas there are certainly some other genocides where if you dispute the number, you can definitely face some legal time. But not with the Armenian genocide. So essentially this professor denied the Armenian genocide and said it never happened. And my sister had a friend who stood up and said, my ancestors died in the Armenian genocide, and you can't say that it didn't happen. I have a record that it happened, and these are, this is the proof of it. And the professor, actually, my sister told me when she went to the professor to talk to her about it, she broke down crying and was like, I didn't mean to offend. I didn't mean to offend. It's like, yeah, don't say things that you can't, defend, right? If you can't, back up your statement with evidence that, this genocide never happened, don't say it at all. Because, you're going to have cases like that where, people do stand up and say, I had relatives who died in this genocide. The Cambodian genocide, yeah, I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't know if that's legal or not to deny. I think it's a pretty unoptical topic to get on to talk about denying or not denying genocides. We could get into some muddy water there.
I've never gotten in. I've actually never done it, but I just because of associations, I've been called a denier just because I know somebody and took a picture with this person.
Yeah, so, yeah. I think I might know of that person, but yeah. So the
you might sound exactly like them.
I might sound exactly like that person. Yeah, but so the Turks did commit genocides, right? And the largest of that was the Armenian, obviously, as I discussed. And that, essentially you had there is 1.5 approximately million ethnic Armenians expelled or killed, from and in Turkey, or Turkish territory, quote unquote. It's Greek territory, by the way. And that was, between 1914 and 1923, you really had this going on. And it's incredibly ironic, Turkey denies that genocide and it's allowed to do so. But like we mentioned, there are several others which you cannot deny. And the Armenian genocide was actually focused on, great. All right, well, this episode is for you then, buddy, if you love Turkey. But especially at Christmas time. There you go, right? But yeah, so you had especially, groups of able-bodied men, right? So it would be men from 18 to 35 who you had being picked out from their land, in Armenia, and they were put into these forced labor groups, right? But whether it's military service or whatever, and they would eventually die from that. And then you had the elderly, the women, and the children. They were forced onto these death marches into eventually, the Syrian desert is where they would lead. And so it was an incredibly unfortunate situation. And other than that, we had the Assyrian and the Greek genocide, which would have definitely been a part of that. Around the same time. What was that question? Were there lampshades made from human skin in the Armenian genocide? I don't know. I do not know how to answer that. I don't like that question. Yeah, but yeah. So that's basically my spiel on the Armenian genocide. It happened. Definitely happened. We have proof that it happened. Many of our ancestors died in it, unfortunately. And to deny it, you're clearly just a Turkish roach, and you have no respect for Greek culture or Armenian culture. So
I have a lot of respect for Greek culture, okay? But the Pontic Greeks never existed. They never existed.
Really? Yeah, I don't know about that. We have evidence that, Greeks residing, in that area would have dated back to, even the late Bronze Age in AD, in 1450 BC. They would have been, Luke looks Armenian. I've never gotten that, but I know an Armenian guy, and I look a little bit like him, so maybe. Hopefully none of you guys are Turkish, but
I think you're Turkish.
I'm Turkish. Yeah, I'm just a psyop.
You know how I know?
How?
That bald face you have right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Turks can't grow beards, so I mean, you're gonna have to grow a beard to prove that you're not Turkish.
Yeah, if I could, I would. But unfortunately, I was cursed with poor genes when it comes to facial hair growing. So I can't grow out a sick beard like yours. What part did wooden doors play in the Armenian genocide? Well, it's very interesting you asked that question. Actually, I think that it would be, if wooden doors did play a part in the Armenian genocide, they would be heavily disputed for a couple of reasons. But especially, I think there would be other doors that maybe would be more useful. But
rate a musician.
Hey, all right.
He's a simp. Hey,
I don't mind that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I welcome those comments.
Is it true the Turks crucified people? I've heard it said, but Turks denied it.
I've never heard that, actually. It wouldn't surprise me. There were a lot of barbaric acts which the Armenian, Greek, and Syrian people were subjected to, but crucifixion is not one that I've actually ever heard of. It wouldn't surprise me, and if Turkey denies it, then I'm more inclined to believe it. But I don't know. That would definitely be something that I'd have to look into. I don't have any doctorate degree in Turkish history, but from what I do know, I have not seen anything that would lead me to believe that they have been crucifying people.
Yeah. So I have heard some Turkish arguments, where they were saying, well, hey, we were, like, as part of their denial of it happening, they would say things like, well, hey, we were at war, and so this was, of course, people died from an act of war, but it wasn't a genocide. So what were the circumstances, I guess, that led up to the Armenian and the Pontic genocides?
Well, I mean, I don't really know if I'm actually not entirely sure what would have, the Turks in general would have conquered that area, and they would have, wanted to impose that will. But I don't know exactly what would have prompted something like that. And I think that that's what makes it, more of such a barbarous act, than anything. But I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't give you a good answer on that. I don't know if I'm not entirely sure of the relations that they had with those other two groups at the time. But I mean, I know that at that point, right, you had Turkey secularizing, which makes it a little bit more odd. But that was, of course, something that would have happened a little bit later. But you had this push after that happened, right, for Turkey to secularize. So I don't know what exactly would have prompted, except for this kind of anti-Greek sentiment, right? And that's something that you obviously find with the Turks dating back all the way to the Middle Ages. But they had this anti-Greek, anti-Armenian, and this sentiment was just this, growing nationalism within Turkey. And I think that maybe that's what someone like Ataturk would have seen, right? And, maybe been able to kind of take advantage of that nationalistic attitude. But I'm not sure exactly.
Was there a competing nationalistic, maybe some sort of because it was Armenians and Greeks that were targeted specifically, the Pontic Greeks, and they were both Orthodox. Was there maybe some sort of collaboration or nationalistic separatist movement between with them?
Right. So, with the Greeks, essentially, I mean, you had that since 1821 with the Greek Revolution, and you had this ideal of throwing off Turkish persecution and throwing off the Turkish government. That would have been a sentiment that would have carried all the way through, to the 1900s and through the 20th century. Something that still carries through today. That kind of revolutionary attitude and that nationalistic attitude. And that's one thing that you see with the Greek Revolution, is this insane amount of nationalism, which is not a bad thing. But and they took pride in who they were, and the Turks, of course, were opposed to everything about that. Of course, by this point, the Turks being Muslim would have greatly affected the Eastern Orthodox groups in that area, and the Armenian Apostolic groups as well. Because Islam's goal, of course, is to convert the infidel, and if that means death or conversion, then that means death or conversion. So I think we saw a lot of that happening at that point.
Yeah. Do you know anything about like the system of demitude that Christians had to live under? Kind of like second-class status or
right
whatnot?
Of course, yeah. And that's something that went back all the way to the Turks conquering Constantinople and the entirety of the Byzantine, in quotes, at that point, empire. They would have lowered the Greeks and the Greek religion, the Orthodox religion, down to being second-class citizens. And the patriarch, the ecumenical patriarch, had to act under anything that the Turkish government decreed. Right, it couldn't act against that, and the Turkish government would oftentimes weaponize the Greek Orthodox Church. And so that was very unfortunate. And that's a huge part of the reason why, through that whole period, up until the Greek Revolution, there was this, great theological development in the Orthodox Church, but not such a great expansion, because they couldn't expand, and so it's very unfortunate. But after, the revolution, being treated in those Turkish areas, there still definitely would have been that attitude of demoting demoting the Greeks to being second-class citizens. And what would also happen a lot of the time too, and this was before the Greeks overthrew the Turkish government, but you had the Turks, taking Greek citizens from their various villages and stuff, and they would in turn use them against their, take them and brainwash them and train them, and use them against, their own Greek villages when they would go and take those areas. So, definitely some very evil and barbaric acts that the Turks did, and that the Greeks had to undergo underneath that oppressive regime. And it was sickening,
All right, looks like we have a question from Anna. Michael and Luke, what should the plan be for Ortho Christians with the emboldened anti-Christian Turks that have a hold on America and are revealing their plans and hatred for us? Actually, I need to make somebody a mod in the chat, because our good friend who has been invading the I don't want to give him too much attention, but invading the chats on Telegram has joined us today. But you know what? I'm kind of okay with that, because he can hear us talk about his terrible country. So I'm okay with him being here, Anna, actually, right, because especially with the next, we're gonna really enlighten him on some deep issues with Turkey in just a second. So he can he can stay here for a little bit. I might boot him in a minute, but I want him to see this next segment. But I don't know. Are you actually, Anna? You put that in quotations. So, are you actually talking about Turks? I guess is what I would like for you.
That was my initial thought too.
Turk.
That's exactly right. They are roses.
But Anna, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know if you're actually talking about Turks, but let's say that she's talking about not Turks and the bankers. What is that?
Of course, you're talking about the Irishmen, right?
Yeah. The elite Irish bankers.
Right.
What would we do about them, Luke? What's your plan with that?
So I think that this is something that kind of goes into the Orthodoxy First movement in general. And I don't want to get too specific. I think that's something that we definitely need to understand, that it is a clear and present danger, and we're going to have to form communities, and be able to find, groups of people, whether, it's your parish or a young Orthodox community in your area, and be able to kind of talk with them, bounce ideas off of them, and be prepared, in general for what's coming. And I think that's something that, most of us understand at this point. And that's something that us at St. Herman's have definitely talked about extensively. But we need to make sure that, here in America, we know what's going on. We have a plan for how to handle it as Christians, right? We need to not be afraid to speak up and not be afraid to stand up for our faith. But at the same time, we have to have this understanding that if we do it in too open of an area, we can be shut down. And we need to, find groups of people who are willing to start a small community, who are willing to act together with us on this, and grow families in a certain area, homeschool your kids. Don't allow them to fall victim to what's being taught in schools right now, everywhere, whether it's college, K through 12, whatever you're talking about. But it's unfortunate, and I think that there is a great hatred for Christianity in general, and that's Orthodox Christianity, Catholicism, and Protestantism. You see this growing feeling of animosity from the secular world. And I think that it's something we need to understand. We need to know that these people are not our friends. These people are neo-Bolsheviks. They want nothing to do with the church, nothing to do with Christians. And we need to be ready to handle that, speak up, to grow these communities, and to stand together, because I think that groups of people and groups of Orthodox Christians are going to have a much greater effect on the world than just individual Christians alone.
Yeah, I agree. Anna, you are actually a mod now, and our friend is now gone. He's gone. He's on timeout. I put him on timeout. I couldn't figure out how to actually permanently delete him on the fly, but he's on timeout. But you're a mod now, so it's all up to you, Anna. You're all up to you. Let's see.
Speaking of Kenya, actually just brought up a good idea, a good point. That I just kind of briefly touched on. Homeschool college. And that's something that I don't know if it's the one right up. Yeah, right there. And what's interesting about that, actually, obviously it sounds kind of weird, to homeschool for college, but not quite a homeschool for college, right? But have these systems of higher education taught by people and keep it small, right? That it's kind of the same idea of what like Hellenic College tried to do. Where they knew it was Orthodox Christians teaching the curriculum. They knew it was an Orthodox Christian curriculum. But the problem, right, was that now they've been, teaching perhaps more secular ideas of Christianity. And I had a friend of mine who went to a program sponsored by Hellenic College, everyone's banned, where they taught that God was a woman. So we need to make sure that, we have actual Orthodox Christian systems of higher education that can help out in this situation. And I think actually Father Patrick Cardine.
Eugen is now also
a mod. Awesome.
Eugen's a mod, and our friend's back, so we have two mods to handle him.
Give me a second. My camera just slipped. There we go.
Uh-oh. Yeah, now that's interesting. I never actually thought about that for college. But
yeah, Father Patrick Cardine. Sorry, just real quick. Father Patrick Cardine was talking about doing something with that. So he'd definitely be one to talk to about moving forward with an idea like that. So,
yeah. Back to the question on the Turks, right? My take, I don't particularly. I don't know that it's the best strategy to even. Some people might get a little irked by this, by naming the Turk, right? Or even going after a particular singling out a specific group. Let's say like somebody did in the 30s. I think that is probably a poor tactic at this point. Because if you do that, you're going to get crushed. You're going to be destroyed before you can ever even mount a significant movement of any sort. And that's just the reality. So I think it's a better strategy to build a system that is in which you are not reliant upon them, and go after the things that evil people of any sort will thrive off of, such as pornography, usury, globalism, the international system of usury. These things are the things that we should be attacking, and we don't even have to. We don't even have to say their name. We don't have to. It's just not what you don't have to do it. You don't have to
absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely. That's the last thing you should do.
And no, it did not work because the forces of the world basically went to war with him, and it did not work at all. It came close, but it was basically you had communism and liberal democracy tag team to destroy him. So not working. That's not my definition of working. Deutschland zu ihr. What is the Orthodox take on universalism, global homo, and the commodification of life? Is that like, I don't know if that's a serious question. We don't like global homo.
Sure.
We are not ecumenists. We believe that salvation is of the church. We are the fullness of the faith is within the Orthodox Church. Nobody else. So even within, we would even apply that within Christianity. We are the fullness of the Christian faith is found in the church. Some Orthodox may say we don't know. Only God can say who can be saved, but the only place that we know there is salvation is in the church. Some of us may be a little more hardline. Catholics are going to hell. But that's all I'll say. That's not the subject for the show, but I appreciate the question. Any comments on that, Lou?
No, I would agree with you. I don't want to get too unoptical, but I definitely think that we need to take a stand against things like that. And it's definitely a bad optics.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it could be worse. But no, I would definitely say we need to take a stand against things like ecumenism. And we need to understand that they are not the fullness of the church. They don't stand for the same principles as we do. And when you have the Pope coming out and making statements like he did, yesterday, and coming out with encyclicals like the Fratelli Tutti, we're gonna realize where we clash with the other, Christian churches.
Just want to say that this is all Anna's fault. This is all your fault.
Yeah, we're talking about things in Minecraft here. We're not actually talking about.
We're talking about Turks. We're not gonna get banned by TurkTube.
Right.
It's like
it's not how it works.
Not how it works. But no, I think that you go after the issues. You create a system that's totally independent of. If you create a system that is righteous and moral, anyone who cannot take advantage of degeneracy basically is not even going to want to be there. So that I've said this before and it was taken out of context to pretty grossly and all over the news. So by our good friend Jared Holt.
Of course.
So whatever, I don't care anymore. I'm not gonna come out and be a complete spurg. But
sure.
Anyways, on to the important stuff, since our friend still seems to be
taking part in the stream.
Still seems to be in the stream. Why don't we inform him as to who actually invented baklava?
The Greeks. Sorry, it was the Greeks. We have that on great authority. Turkish baklava. Hey, whoever that is, who's that talking? Kahit Dojan, however you pronounce that name. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had Turkish baklava, but it sucks. All right, buddy, it sucks. And Greek baklava is the original. It's the only place you're gonna find actual baklava. You're not gonna have some. I don't even know what Turkish grandmothers are called, but you're not gonna have them. Making as excellent dishes as our yagas. That's the same for what's the other dish? They claim Greek coffee is Turkish. They claim that galaktoburiko is Turkish. All of these things, and it's like, wait a second, before we
Lukumi, don't they call it Greek,
Greek, something like that, yeah.
Turkish delight.
Yeah, what a joke. And that's something that just shocks me because we've already established that Turks have no real culture, and I'm sick and tired of even entertaining the idea that they have. Giving them the honor of, assuming that they have this culture to create good food. They claim yogurt too. Well, that's okay. You know what? That's actually just a simple one, right? Because when you go to the grocery store, you go to, I don't know, let's say Wegmans, you're not going to find Turkish yogurt. It's Turkish privilege. You're going to find Greek yogurt. That's Ikos, right? And you're going to find, which a lot of Americans pronounce Oikos, which is wrong. And, Chobani is Greek. All of these brands, none of them come from Turkey. And, it's all done by our excellent Greek goat herders. # Roach Lives Matter. Nope, sorry, buddy. But if Constantine the 11th didn't think so, I don't think so. Boycott Turkey and Azerbaijan. Absolutely. Disavow Azerbaijan. Pro-Armenia. Which, by the way, Armenia's prime minister actually made a pretty epic statement the other day. I don't know if you caught that. But basically calling for everyone to hurry up and take up arms. So pretty based, but United Greek and United Greek and Armenian front against the Azerbaijanis and the Turks.
Hey, like how I like my baklava. Like, there's different styles of baklava, and some of it's better than others. But the best baklava, not even the Greek kind. Actually, if you get baklava made by Lebanese Christians,
really,
way better than Greek or Turkish.
Hey, you know what though? Don't put that anywhere on my Instagram, because I have there's this a female friend of mine who is incredibly patriotic about her Lebanese ancestry. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that she's Catholic. So she loves to like rag on me and tell me how it was Pope John Paul II who saved the Russians from communism. So I don't need any more of that. I don't need any encouraging her and telling her that Lebanese baklava is superior to Greek baklava.
Hey, bro. If we're like, I don't know. Well, I probably shouldn't go here. Probably shouldn't go there. Yeah, we're not gonna do the who should I simp more for? Lebanese girls or Greek girls? I'm going Lebanese all day, bro.
Sorry.
I'm going Lebanese all day. But neither are white. So
sure.
I mean, Greeks definitely aren't white.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are you're both meds, so
we're people of color actually. So yeah.
The Lebanese use pistachios in the baklava. NGL, not gonna lie, it's good. It's actually true. I think that is why I like it. Besides just joking, and I have to tease you.
Of course. I go through that every Sunday that we're at St. Herman's together. But,
You left. We had you going. You left early. You ran away.
Well, I had to. In my defense, I had to. I had a pay-per-view that night, so I had to.
Yeah. That's not the excuse you gave us that day. You gave us two different. Now you got a different excuse for running away on Sunday.
What did I say? On Sunday?
Why don't you tell us what really happened, Luke? Why don't you tell us what went down on Sunday?
Not going into this.
Why are you turning red? Why are you turning red, Luke? What's wrong?
My skin color is naturally like this.
What's wrong? Why are you sweating? Luke?
Not doing this. Not going into it.
Man, your veins are bulging out in your forehead, bro. What's wrong? I'm kidding. All right. He's turning Armenian red.
There you go.
Oh, what has happened to our stream, brother?
It's all good. It's fine.
But on a more serious note, what is we've talked about the genocide that never happened. We talked about a little bit of the history of this fake country called Turkey. So what is happening kind of in modern times that is causing some sort of tensions in the region?
Right. So there's a lot going on geopolitically, obviously. And my goodness, I don't know how long it would take to delve into all of it. I don't know if you know from Church Jim Jatras. He's that old Greek fellow. But he's
been on the show. Oh,
he has. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he's very, very educated on all these topics, and we were talking earlier today, actually. But what one of the big things, right? And I think that this is something that we can really date back to the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in 1974. Is the highly contested area of Cyprus, right? And that's something that besides which obviously I'll get into a little bit later, the current Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict, but in terms of the Greek and Turkish relations, we definitely see a lot of it stemming from the dispute over Cyprus. And the Turks, of course, invaded in 1974, and there was that group that declared the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. They declared it to be its own part of Cyprus, but the only government around the world that actually recognizes that is what? It's Turkey. The Greek government doesn't recognize it. No one in the EU recognizes it. And it's something, it's a completely ridiculous statement. But now you have, what's his name? This newly elected official in Turkey talking about, occupying that area and, really, enforcing Turkey on Cyprus. And, you have Cyprus contested heavily since 1974. You have those waters nearing Greece contested heavily. That's something we saw earlier this year, back in August. And Turkey's causing a lot of major problems over there in the Eastern Mediterranean in general. It's basically, what we see is this is just over like maritime rights for these what is the large like gas places, out there in the water. And it's basically just who has the right to be there and to, use those resources. And it's problematic for Greece. It's problematic for the EU. And you have that on the one hand where Turkey is causing these conflicts and causing this problem. And on the other hand, they're begging, to be let in to the EU. And it's something like you have to pick one side here. You can't be causing problems with Greece, but then, begging for help, and begging to be let in. It doesn't work that way, and I think that that's something where, just in general, and that's been going on now, for the last, 50, 60 years, they have been causing more problems than they've been doing good to any major European country. They're extremely nationalistic, just like, what we saw earlier this summer, right, when they converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque. And that was extremely heavily contested. You even had our Archbishop, Elpidophoros, speaking out against it. You had the Russian government speaking out against it. And of course, they're only asking for it to be turned back into a museum, which we would like to see it as a cathedral again. But what's that statement making about Turkey, right? It's saying that they're nationalizing. It's saying that they have this, growing sense of patriotism that really hasn't been seen in Turkey since their secularization in the early 20th century with Ataturk. And that's where you had these leaders around the world calling for this return to what Ataturk called for in this secularization, where, kind of this neutrality in terms of religion, where there's not going to be this Islamic oppression over specifically the Orthodox Church. So that's unfortunate in terms of just the religious side of it, but they definitely now have been causing problems with Armenia and with Azerbaijan. And they have been for a while now, supporting Azerbaijan with weaponry, and with long range missiles and things like that. And it's like, whoa, wait a second, that's incredibly wrong. And at the same time, they're like, oh, well, we don't have anything, we're staying out of this. And it's just they're making a lot of contradictory statements, and they're saying one thing and doing another. And I think that's where you see now Armenia is having to stand up and kind of pick up arms and fight for their own country now, because Azerbaijan is being supported so heavily by Turkey. And that's why Armenia is begging for Russia's help now, because they need to be backed by a larger power too. And I think that's where you see a very problematic conflict growing over there in that area. And, it's not helping anyone except Turkey. And it's very unfortunate to see that. But I don't think that Erdogan is going to stop what he's doing anytime soon. He's made that pretty clear, in various statements and in this newly elected official. Very unfortunate, very wrong.
Yeah, I never actually even heard of Azerbaijan before this whole conflict with Armenia. I'm like, who the heck is that?
Yeah.
Like, who are they? Where are they even in relation to Armenia? Are they?
No, actually, we're next to Armenia, but I don't know exactly on which side they are. I'd like to see it.
Is it like a Muslim country?
Yeah, yeah. So they definitely, and that's why I think Turkey is jumping to help so quickly. And that goes again back to its heavy sense of nationalistic and religious pride. What Erdogan has just been, fueling. He's definitely been fanning the flames for that. So
yeah. Now I know that there were rumors of Turkey being involved with ISIS somehow. Do you know anything about that at all?
I don't know much about that except for some unsubstantiated claims. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, but there's nothing that I can really say in good conscience where I have evidence to back that up. But I would not be surprised. I don't know if you know anything specifically about that, but it's not something that I'm really well educated on.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm not in intelligence department, so I don't know. Somebody says they are I guess
Turkish Shia Muslim. Yeah, that's Azerbaijan. Yeah, former Soviet Republic state.
But Turkey is Sunni, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Huh. So it's basically like
it'd be like us helping Catholics, I guess, right? I mean, I don't really think that there's.
Well, I think technically Shia are more like Catholics for Muslims, and then Sunnis are like Protestants, really.
Interesting.
Because the Shia have like a hierarchy and somebody telling you how to interpret the Quran. And the Sunni is kind of like, well, we have 4 schools of thought, and you can be any of these schools and whatever.
Right.
And there's then you have the Wahhabis and the Salafis, and so which are like the more fundamentalist people that actually who interpret the Quran correctly are the terrorists. So our friend is back again. So
he's not causing any major. What is that? Yeah, no,
he's a roach. He's a roach.
He is.
Jeff Moore. Oh, hey, what's up, Jeff? Jeff is based in Red Pill. He says, how long until we see the prophecies of St. Paisios realized?
Yeah. So I talked about that a little bit on the last episode of Orthodoxy First, and we didn't actually delve into specifically St. Paisios' prophecies, but we were talking about there were some Russian prophecies and some Greek ones that we talked about. But essentially, St. Paisios really goes into this idea of this anti-Turkish sentiment, and which clearly, I mean, we know that he's receiving these prophecies from God, so we know whose side God is on. So I think there's no definite point that I can say where we're going to see St. Paisios' prophecies realized. But it definitely, I think that we are approaching that time sooner than we think. And I think that, he's made several statements on what's going to happen to Turkey. He's talked about how 1/3 are going to be killed in the war, 1/3 are going to go into East Asia from whence they came, and the other third are going to, thank God, convert to Orthodoxy. So it's a win-win-win situation for us. And basically what another part of his prophecy says is that we are going to do to them what they did to us, in the sense of we're going to take young men, able-bodied men from their village, and brainwash them and turn them against those villages. And so very anti-Turkish sentiment coming from St. Paisios. But it just goes to show you how wrong what they did to us was,
And the Christians, we're all going to wear green. You know why we're going to wear green?
Why are we going to wear green?
Because we weren't allowed to wear green in the Ottoman Empire, because it's the royal color of Islam. And if you notice,
that's right.
The Saint Edward logo with the double-headed eagle back there, green and gold. And I did that specifically to make the Turkish Muslims happy.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's totally a troll. So when you invade my chat, you Turkish roaches, I hope you enjoy my logo in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And just remember that we are Christians and our color is green and gold, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But when you convert, hopefully you convert someday. Hopefully you convert. Let's see. So last question, does your Orthodoxy First movement include a reconquest of Constantinople?
Undoubtedly, yeah. That's our end goal right there. You know, we are going to march together, you know, with we're gonna be 100,000 strong, and we're gonna take on the walls of Constantinople. And the best part of it is we're not going to use gunpowder, because we look at it the same way as the Byzantines did. Gunpowder satanic. And we're going to take you guys down with swords and knives and bows and arrows. So be ready for that. You're not going to even see it coming. It's going to come so quickly, and it's going to hit you so hard. It's going to be the greatest army in the history of the world. And everyone's going to bench upwards of 300 pounds. So that's the ultimate goal of the Orthodoxy First movement, is just getting everyone in the weight room and training to take Turkey back, or to take Constantinople back and reclaim the lands which were ripped from us by those disgusting Seljuk Turks. So.
This might be the our animus for the Turks might be the glue that heals the schism and the current rift between the Greeks and the Russians.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think that's the big question, is where's the U.S. going to go? Right? Because I think the U.S. isn't too friendly with Russia, but at the same time, you know, we definitely are with the EU. So it's something where, you know, if Russia goes to the EU, we'll go there.
We're going to balkanize into garbage. So
unfortunately, yeah, that's the way it's looking.
I don't even know. I think that's like one of the better case scenarios, to be honest, which is why we might as well plug the Saints Edward Media Book Club, the Saints Edward Book Club. We are preparing via the book club. So if you're interested in creating a traditionalist society here on this continent, join the book club. We have plenty of books for you to read. So my gosh, this chat, dude, like this
blowing up, right?
He like makes like 1,000 accounts. Like he gets banned, and then he makes another account, and he thinks he's cool, but he's a loser. He's a loser.
He's a roach.
He's a loser Turk with nothing better to do. But whatever, you can keep invading our chats. You can invade my live chats. We'll have a special Turk joke for you every day.
There you go.
Balkanization is the best and probably only hope. And I agree. My theory.
That's reality.
My theory. So this is kind of the way I operate. I'm obviously pretty reactionary. I'm a reactionary Christian, traditionalist reactionary. And why do you call them roaches? Because they are.
They are.
They're satanic roaches. Satanic roaches, and they are sad losers.
Yes.
Sad losers. But I don't think there's actually I think that for some of the other I am definitely I will gladly take the label anti-Turk. I am anti-Turk.
Yes.
I am anti-Turkite. I am
absolutely. That's not even a question.
But as optics are out the windows, boys. Is that bad optics? It would be more bad optics to say you like Turkey. Like
yeah, I definitely think so. I think we look at where certain world governments side, and we make our optical decisions based off of that.
But as I was saying, as a reactionary and a Christian, you kind of got to set aside your reactionary like part a little bit, because it is your duty to, as a Christian, you can't be a revolutionary, right? So my goal is not to bring down the government. It's not to fundamentally change the system that we are operating under. As a Christian, it's my duty to operate within that system to at least attempt to bring about the traditionalist society that we have, that we want, right?
Absolutely.
But we know that that's probably not going to work. And so we have to create a plan B, which is building a community and an infrastructure. And that's why I have the book club, because we all know that if you read books, you're going to fix everything.
Mhm.
So totally just the book club, guys. So check out that book club tab on saintsedwardmedia.com. And Luke's going to do that too, right? Isn't that right?
I'm already signed up. I'm already signed up in the book club. So.
Did you? I didn't see an email.
I am. I definitely sent you one. I know I'm signed up.
Did you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I probably didn't even know I was responding to you. So, well, that's cool. Sweet. So where can? Oh, I like this guy. Hail Tsar Michael and King Luke of Greece. Throw your oh gosh. Now that's not optical.
I'm not gonna do a Roman. Hey, we'll do an American now. There we go. Good old fashioned American.
I think that's fulfillment of a. Wasn't there something about a Tsar Michael, right?
Yeah, I think so actually. Yep. He's supposed to be the last Tsar. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
E-girls.
Yes. What do you think of e-girls?
You know what? Never. My policy is never e-girls. No e-girls allowed. Period. They suck. And if you think that an e-girl likes you, or you think that you're in love with an e-girl, you're wrong. You're not. She's not. All she cares about is making more money off of you because you're simping for her. And so no, you know what? Forget the e-girls. Policy is same as Nick's. No e-girls ever. So we stand by that.
All right. So no e-girls, no e-girls. What about the Ortho Chat e-girls? Because we have one coming on. We have one coming on the show on Sunday. Bronwyn de Graaf. She's coming on.
That's right.
She's coming on. They can come on your show. You just can't date them.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, final question. I ask this randomly. Sometimes I forget to ask my guests, but I'm remembering this time. Your favorite book. Can't be the Bible. Got to make a book recommendation to the audience.
Can it be any book? Like fiction?
Any book.
All right, so I'll be honest. One that I actually just finished over the summer. I've read 18 books this year so far, and my favorite that I've read is The Robe by Lloyd C. Douglas. It's about a 600-page book, maybe like 598 pages. Very long book. But it's fantastic. It's about a Roman soldier, the other Roman centurion who crucified Christ. And it's a novel. And it's about the other Roman soldier who crucified Christ and ends up winning his robe in while they were casting lots, which of course we know is scriptural. And he's the one who won the robe. And this robe ends up like driving him crazy because he becomes convinced that he crucified an innocent man. And then from being convinced of him crucifying an innocent man, he becomes convinced that that man was God. And then he has to move on knowing that. Very good book, incredibly detailed and well written. It made me very emotional at the end. So I definitely recommend any Christian to read that book.
What was that called? The
Robe. It's by Lloyd C. Douglas. Yes. No, it's actually, Ray the Musician said St. Longinus. It's not actually about him. It's about the other one who won Christ's robe casting lots. St. Longinus was one who stabbed Christ in the side.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I have a few books I have to read before I can't get to all the books that that all my guests say to read, but that sounds interesting. I'm not actually a huge fiction guy until the last couple of years. I started forcing myself, and so I've been reading C.S. Lewis, Tolkien. I actually waited until I was 32 to read The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. But I like Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, Brothers Karamazov. I'm gonna read Demons soon. I haven't read Demons yet.
Yeah, I've heard that's a really good one.
But I think of forcing myself to read all these fictions. My favorite has been the Space Trilogy.
Oh, really?
From C.S. Lewis. Like, I love it. Like, it's my favorite.
Yeah, I have a good friend who's really into that one. So
the last one, That Hideous Strength, was like okay, come on, Eugen. Do we gotta put Spengler and Quadrino in the chats? Come on, bro. Come on. Talk about optics. Come on.
Mosley. Let's just finish off the trio.
But I actually do want to read. I've heard Quadrino's books are actually pretty good. So he was a pious Orthodox man. So that's how bad can the optics be?
Of course not.
But where can people find your stuff? Where can they follow you, Luke?
Yeah, so go ahead and check out my YouTube. It's just Orthodoxy First, and go search that up and look at channels. Mine will probably be the first one that comes up, I'm assuming. And I'm also on Instagram as at Orthodoxy First, and Orthodoxy _ First. And my Twitter handle is at Luke _ Kindrat. And yeah, so that's about it. For my legionaries is. Come on, you're killing my optics here. At the very beginning of my career, you are crushing my optics.
That's how we're gonna make your career, bro. That's how you make it. Yeah, huge. Somebody needs to clip the part where Luke is just sweating with the veins popping out of his face. we gotta clip that. But anyways, if you're watching and you haven't followed Luke's channel yet, go follow him, Orthodoxy First. His show's pretty good for a new guy, pretty good for a newbie. So a little different, and he doesn't bring guests on. I monologue for an hour. Good monologues, and I admire that because I'm not that great at it. I can give a hell of a speech. I can give good speech. Oh God, come on, Italian, really? I can't even read that one. But we can't go that bad with the optics.
All right.
But it is worth reading for historical reference, of course. Of course. But it's not even that good, to be honest. The first half is incredibly boring, and then like the first part of the second half is interesting because it's gibberish about like a mystic, like just complete mythology that's bullcrap.
That's what he was obsessed with. With that.
But what is actual useful is like the party organization stuff, and then the importance of the oratory. That stuff is actually interesting. And how he dealt with Antifa basically is actually worthwhile reading. However, the book is kind of, it's not. You could get away with skipping that book and still read some other based in red pilled books that are probably a better use of your time. Moldbug. You're a Moldbugian? Really?
No, you're the one who told me about him.
Oh. Did you start reading?
Mm-hmm. I actually just got the book, Gentle Guide to Unqualified Reservations.
A gentle introduction. Yeah, that's a good one. The best part of Moldbug. So Moldbug is not like, you shouldn't agree with everything because he's not Christian,
Sure.
and he's a Turk. But the best part about him is he'll explain basically the cathedral in details that you probably have never read before, and he's going to give you primary and secondary sources that are perfect. They're just the best. Yeah, like throughout that entire book, you're going to be referenced. Did you get like a real copy, or are you reading it online?
No, I have it on my Kindle. Okay,
so he hyperlinks on the Kindle too, to a bunch of primary and secondary sources. So it's excellent. Amazing.
Right. Fantastic. I'm excited to get into that then.
Moldberg Tribunal. Dude.
This is getting really unoptical.
I guess we'll do one more final question from the crowd.
Yeah.
What do you think of Dugan?
So the little bit I know of him, I know recently he's become Orthodox, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think he's always. I thought he was like an old believer.
Yeah, I think he is an old believer, but wasn't he like a Satanist at one point or something like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well then I've just heard wrong. But
so I've read some of his essays and some of his. He definitely seemed to have some universalist tendencies to me, which I thought were kind of Gnostic. But I've also had Dugan followers like freak out at me when I mention that. But I think he's useful for his like the fourth political theory in general, especially the geopolitics. I think is pretty useful.
Okay. I haven't read any of him, but I just
like basically he wants to split the world into spheres of influence, and like you don't mess with anybody outside of your sphere, like the Anglosphere, right? And he hates liberals, which is great, And I've heard some people criticize him for being anti-America, like he hates America,
Mhm.
which could you really blame him during the Obama administration? Like his perception of it was like America is liberalism, which is true to an extent. It definitely is the embodiment of liberal democracy, which we don't like bad, right?
Right.
But when Trump won, I think Dugan had a bit of a change of heart where he's like, well, maybe there is something, there is a traditionalist movement in America that we might be able to salvage, I guess. So I think he's had a bit of a change of attitudes towards what's going on here in the West. So,
thanks to guys like you and me, right?
It's just us, you know. We're heroes. We're literal heroes.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I don't think who doesn't hate America. I don't think that I don't know that they actually hate like traditional like American ethnos. I think that they hate liberal the effects that liberal democracy has had on the world. I think that's what they hate. Pushing our ideals and doing regime changes and bombing everybody. I think that's what they hate. And
exactly.
There are guys like us that hate that too. So, yeah, because to me that's not America, but I can understand why the rest of the world would see it that way. And on that note, let's call it a night. I'll see you all Sunday. We're starting an e-girl series. Starting a whole e-girl series. We're gonna have Bronwyn. We're gonna have Eve Black, and then we're gonna have who's after that? Robin Riley's coming on. So we're going through a whole slew of e-girls. It's gonna be great. All the simps are gonna come and send me super chats that don't actually go to the e-girls. So yeah, send those super chats. And come on and simp and send those super chats, and we will see you Sunday night.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. You can stick around for a sec.